Okay, we're back. This is Excel Module 4 Video 2, and we left off with editing our growth investment chart. We were changing the tick marks to expand every 5 years instead of every 3 years. So we had started by clicking on the horizontal axis. If you just double click on it, actually, it'll open up this format access box over to the right, and I had clicked on tick marks already and changed the intervals to 5. And then you also need to click on the labels section and change the specify interval unit to 5 as well. So once you do both of those two things, you will see that will space out your numbers to every 5 intervals. And what I did is the tick mark, I made sure to click the axis position where it says on tick mark, so you can see that the axis is right on the tick mark. So the line lines up exactly with the tick mark. Okay, so that concludes the line chart. Now we're going to insert another kind of chart that's called a combination chart. So you've probably seen these where you have like a bar graph behind the line chart. So it represents two pieces of data in the same chart. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to move to the recent history worksheet. So I'm going to click on the recent history worksheet, and I want to create a chart from the data A4 through C58. So that's a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and just type that into my name box here to highlight that range. And then I'm going to go to Insert, Recommended Charts. And I'm not sure if the recommended chart is going to be a combination chart, but if your recommended chart, like if the chart that you want to insert doesn't pop up in the recommended list, if you go to all charts, all of the charts that Excel has to offer are listed here by category, and combo is the very bottom one. So I can click on combo, and then here I am. I want to insert a clustered column with a line graph. And there's other types of charts. So you can click through these and see, but the book is telling me to click the first one based on the name, the clustered column with a line graph. So what you do is you click that, and then down below here, you can kind of format what piece of data appears on which type of your chart. So which piece of data do you want to be represented as a line chart, and which piece of data do you want to be represented as a column chart? And the book is telling us actually that we want to represent price as a line chart. So I'm going to go ahead and click on price and change that to line. And then it's asking us to do the shares traded as a column chart. And we want the column chart to be on the secondary axis. So you have to just put a little check mark next to that. And you can kind of see in the live preview of what that's going to look like. Once you have that set, you can go ahead and say okay. And of course, we are going to move the chart to a prospectus worksheet. So go ahead and move the chart like we've done all of them. And it's going to have you move it to G15 and H. Oh, I just moved it somewhere else. Oh, this is what happens when you start clicking weird around. Okay. Let me just grab this. Here we are. Okay, G15, and then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. H24, maybe a little bigger, just so it's kind of representative of the other charts, kind of in there in terms of size. It doesn't have to be exact, but just similar is fine. Now we're going to do some formats to this combo chart. So the first thing that it's asking us to do is to display the access titles on the chart. So I need to go ahead and add a chart element so I can add access titles. So I'm going to go ahead and add a check mark next to access titles, and you can see that it puts those in there. These are just text boxes, so you can type to add information. So this text box on the left is going to be price. The access title on the right is going to be shares traded. And the one on the bottom is going to be date. So if you just double click the text boxes, you can just change the information in the text boxes. And we want to change the chart title to recent history. So just again, double click in that and change the chart title to recent history. There you go. Okay. So far so good with that. What it's going to ask us to do now, I'm wondering if I did not put this chart in the right spot. I did not. It's A26 to D38. So this one actually needs to be a little bit bigger. I could tell that I moved it in the wrong spot because when I resized it, it was just too small. You can't see all the data. So let's go ahead and move it over to A26 to D38. So D38 is going to be like that. Ah, that looks so much better. I had it in the wrong location. So now what we're going to do is it's asking us to place the legend on the right side of the chart. So I'm going to go ahead and move my legend. I don't know why, because I actually think it looks better where it's at, because it's going to get real crowded on the right side, I think. But that's okay. We'll go ahead and move it because the book asks us to move it. And then it's asking us to change the scale. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky, changing the scale of the secondary axis. So if you remember when we created this chart, we put the shares traded on the secondary axis by clicking that little box. So that's the one I want to format. So I'm going to click on the shares traded information and just double click it. If you double click the data marks, it will open up the format access box. And this is what we need in order to change the range of our scale. So I'm going to change the scale of the secondary axis to go from 0 to 1.6 EO8, which is 160 million. So I'm going to go ahead and change the bounds, and I'm going to make the minimum bound 0, which it already is, and I'm going to change the maximum bound to 1.6 EO8. So you type it like that, 160 million, so you're not typing so many zeros and setting yourself up for getting a 0 or making a mistake or something like that. So you just hit enter, and it rescales it for you. You can see right there. Then it's asking us to, I think that's the only thing actually, place the legend. Yeah, that's the only thing that we have to change for this chart. All right, now if you wanted to, and this isn't, the book isn't asking you to do this and the directions aren't, but I just want to show you how you can kind of format these on your own if you wanted. Now you can always pick a chart style for your chart and add like a specific chart style. They're pre-formatted, styles for you. But another way that you can format these text boxes is you can just click on the text box that you want to format, and then you can go to, I'm trying to think the best way to do this. If I just right click on it, you can change like the fill color of the text box or the font color of the font within the text box. So you can add some like contrasting boxes, like a background color to the text box, and then make the font color different. But if you just go to format chart title, you can change the fill, the border, very similar to things that we did in Microsoft Word when we like filled in boxes and changed the outside border, style. You can do that with your charts as well. You could also change the fill color of like the middle part of your chart. So like this fill color would contrast with the other part of your table. So you can change, like I just went to solid fill. That does not look good because obviously I have a blue line that's now not showing up, but you kind of get the idea of how you can play around and format your charts if you'd like to. Okay, there's a couple of other things I need to show you before we finish. So we're going to go over here to the sector investments section. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some conditional formatting. And I know we talked about conditional formatting in a previous chapter. It's where you can add like data bars, basically add color to your cells to represent the percentage that's in the box. So like the largest percentage, the 14%, would have the longest data bar in the box. So it's a visual representation of the percentages. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to highlight column G here, and conditional formatting is on the Home tab. You just click the drop down arrow next to conditional formatting and select data bars. Now the book is asking us just to add solid blue data bars. So I'm going to go to the solid section. Just make sure that you're reading carefully when the book gives you directions, because it's easy to miss points when you, like I could have easily done the gradient blue data bars, and that would have been counted wrong because it asked for solid. So you just have to make sure you're reading where it says gradient or solid in the directions, so you're picking the correct one. And that happens all the time with lots of different directions. You kind of have to decipher through the directions and make sure you're doing exactly what it's asking you to do. It's easy to miss over. So the book is also asking us to format our data bars so they don't cover up the number. So you can see here how like the larger numbers, the data bars are so long that they're actually covering the number. So you can format and add different rules to your data bars, however long you want them to be. So the book is asking us to format the data bars so they're only 0.3% of the box or the cell is being taken up by a data bar. You're still going to be able to tell that the 14% is the longest data bar, but we just don't want the data bar to be so long that it takes up the entire box. So I'm going to go ahead and manage rules is where you're going to go to edit this. And then right now I need to add a new rule. So I clicked on where it said new rule, and then I'm going to come down here in the format section, format all cells based on their values. And in the format style, I'm going to click the drop down and select data bar because that's what I'm formatting. And now what I want to do, and you can click here where it says show bar only, and it'll take the percentage out of the box and only show the data bars, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep the percentage in the box. You could also change the color of your data bar here as well to format it to something different if you'd like. That works as well. But here in the maximum value, I want to change it to, instead of automatic, I'm going to change it to a number, and then I'm going to make the number 0.3 because I want the bar size to be 0.3 of I want the bar to take up 0.3 amounts of space, I guess, of the total size of the box. So I'm going to say okay. And then if you just say apply, you can kind of see, it'll give you like a live preview and apply it. Then you can say okay to cancel out. So now you can still tell that 14% is still the longest data bar, right? It's just not so long that it's covering up the percentage. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is sparklines. And sparklines are like a mini line graph within a box or within a cell. And this is asking us to pull information from the sectors worksheet. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to highlight the range of cells that I want my sparkline or my line graph, my mini line graph to pop into. So I'm going to highlight that first. This is where I want the line graphs to go. Then I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to insert a line sparkline. So there's a whole section for sparklines. You can do a column graph, which would just insert a mini column graph within the box, but it's asking me to do a line. So I'm going to select line, and it's going to ask, well, where do you want to pull your data from, right? What data are we using to create these line graphs is what this is asking us. So if you click the little arrow, it'll open up here, and then you can select from where did I tell you to pull from? The sectors worksheet, which may be over here. I'm looking for sectors. There it is. You have to maybe click that little tiny arrow to scooch over a little bit because there's so many worksheets in this workbook that you may have to click the navigation arrows to get to it. Click sectors, and then it's asking you to highlight on the sectors worksheet B5 through L44. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight this one just to make sure I get all the information correct. So B5 all the way over to L44. So it's basically all of the numbers. And then let go. You'll see it pops in here. Sectors is the worksheet, and then the range of cells that I just highlighted pops in. Go ahead and click this little button at the right side to reopen the box to expand it so you can make sure that the data that you want to pop in as sparklines came from the sectors worksheet, that range of cells, and the location that you want the sparklines to pop in is the original location that we highlighted. So now you can just go ahead and say okay, and then looky here on the prospectus worksheet, you have the line graph sparklines that pop in representing the data that we highlighted from the sectors worksheet. Now you can format sparklines just like you can anything else. So notice there's a contextual tab that pops up. They're always there for those special objects, and you can edit your sparklines if you want. So if you click on the sparkline tab, you can add a dot at the high point and the low point of the line graph. And you can also change the color of the dots if you'd like. So you could change like the marker color. So the high point you can make red, and the low point you can make a different color. The book's asking us to make them both red, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But you could change the different sparkline color, like if you wanted a different sparkline, or there's styles, like preset styles for your sparklines in this group as well. So anything that helps you like edit the sparkline can be found on that contextual tab for sparklines. All right, there's one other thing that we need to do for this. We need to scroll up to B9 where it says 3 stars. And Microsoft has a new feature that are called icons. And instead of typing 3 stars, it wants us to insert a 3-star icon, like 3-star icons. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete the words 3-star. And I may have to click off and then click back on to get the cursor outside of B9. I don't want my cursor in B9. I just want B9 to be selected. So I click on B9 and then the icons are on the Insert tab. So if you go to Insert, there's a command for icons. And the book tells us to look in the cell